Welcome to Allies or Enemies. We are a board game couple that generally plays two-player games. This time, we are talking about Horrified, cooperative game set in the world of Universal Studios' classic monster movies in a very unfortunate town that has every monster problem at once. Dracula, the creature, the Wolfman, the Invisible Man, Frankenstein's monster, and the bride, the mummy, they are all here and they are causing mayhem, mostly in the form of attacking villagers who won't stay home, despite the obvious dangers around them and keep wandering from one location to another. The game's fairly simple. Each player controls one character who collects items, protects villagers, and fights monsters in an effort to make the village safe once more.
This game feels like it's made for mass market, but Ravensburger does a nice job keeping costs low without overly sacrificing on quality. The items and villagers are all made of nice sturdy cardboard, the monster figures are recognizable and work, even though they are unpainted, and the boards and cards and extra bits are all made with care. There is even a fun warning that greets you about the ensuing horror when you first open the box. What stands out most, however, is the obvious love of the source material. All of the locations and villagers are straight out of the classic films, including Wilbur and Chick from the later Abbott and Costello Meets movies. There are even little details like Creature's boat being named the Rita. The whole thing actually inspired us to go back and watch all of the old movies. If you haven't seen Bride of Frankenstein or The Invisible Man, you really should.
The rules are plenty simple enough for new gamers, though there is enough here for more seasoned co-op gamers that want something a little bit lighter. A turn will consist of each player taking a number of actions that are split between moving, collecting items, protecting and guiding villagers, and taking on the monsters. And when it comes to the monsters, each one provides a different challenge, such as destroying Dracula's coffins before staking him, finding the ingredients to a cure for the Wolfman, or helping the Frankenstein couple find their humanity and awkwardly hold hands. All of these are helpfully laid out on the various monster sheets. At the end of each turn, the monsters get their own turn, where villagers continuously put themselves in danger, and monsters move and attack, which is all controlled by a single card. It's one of the easiest to use AIs that we've come across, and it works really well. You lose the game if you lose too many villagers, / have too many trips to the hospital, or if you run out of time. You win by stopping all of the monsters.
As usual, we have only played with 2, but it feels like 2 might be the sweet spot, although it is easy to see how it would scale from 1 to 4 without much trouble. But at 2 players, the system runs well, and you work together to help distract the monsters, guide the various villagers to their safe places, and pick up items that, helpfully, keep popping up around the town. On the easier mode, this means that players will patrol opposite sides of the board or focus on one monster each. But this gets even more interesting when you play with more monsters, and you really have to think about who will grab that cache of goods before the Invisible Man scoops it up, while also keeping Lucy out of range of Dracula and not getting pulled in by the mummy's love curse. It definitely feels like a total team effort.
Speaking of teamwork, different characters will offer different boosts for movement, fighting, villager protecting, or even the number of actions they can take, though the biggest point of variation will be in the monsters. The Invisible Man steals items, the mummy has a fun little puzzle mini-game, the creature moves via the village lakes, Dracula brings you to him with his hypnosis, the Wolfman attacks everybody, and you have to teach the Frankenstein creations how to be human. Each game, you will choose 2 or 3 of these monsters in whatever combination tickles your fancy, and each variation will have a fairly different feel. You can also try 4, but do it at your own peril. The game probably won't have the staying power of some of the big guns, as patterns do start to emerge after a while, but without doing the math, there are 20-ish combinations to beat, and you can always come back after giving the villagers a bit of a break.
This is a fairly light game, and it is heavily themed, so if either of those scare you off, trust that feeling. But for the rest of you, there is a lot to like in this package. Fans of these films will especially love the attention to detail, and fans of cooperative games will enjoy the change of pace. It does have dice, but it helps that they are weighted to the monster's advantage, so you expect to take a beating and are pleasantly surprised when you don't, which makes sense because really, Dracula should be able to chomp a hapless villager at least 80% of the time. This is one we picked up on a whim with zero expectations, and it has been a nice surprise. It won't be a long-lived classic board game, but it sets up in 5 minutes, plays in 40, and lets you fight some monsters, which is sometimes just what you want.
And that is it. Let us know what you think of this game if you've played it, or if you have other suggestions for light cooperative games. And we hope you'll all come back next time for another game.